We welcome you back to the West Virginia Business Summit series here on West Liberty University Television. It is my distinct pleasure to have the opportunity to speak with Jerry West, former basketball All-American gold medal winner. Many West Virginians know your story. I could go on and on about your trip from Cabin Creek to Morgantown through Los Angeles and now spending some of your time back here in West Virginia. It is our honor to have you with us today. Thank you for joining us.
Thank you so much for having me.
If we could talk a little bit about your role here at the West Virginia Business Summit. You've been associated with the Greenbrier for so many years, and today you'll be delivering the welcome remarks at today's Business Summit opening lunch.
Well, actually, my relationship with the Greenbrier goes back for years, but it hasn't been in the form of being involved here. I just love this place. I love coming here. The serenity, the beauty reminds me very much of where I grew up as a kid, and also the people, because West Virginians seem to have a different kind of spirit than most people. It would be a void in my life if I didn't have the opportunity to come back here, and also hopefully be able to revisit with my friends and the ones that are still around, and more importantly, enjoy some of the things I enjoyed when I was a kid.
Well, you had spoken with me earlier about that your life in Cabin Creek growing up and some special abilities gave you the opportunity to gain an education and gain other opportunities in your life as well.
Well, you know, I feel so blessed because, you know, I grew up typically like most kids who grow up in some of these little communities that are intertwined, and now particularly because of the coal business. But at that time, it was much more vibrant. The Kanawha Valley, I believe they call it the chemical valley at that point in time. Now so many of those places are gone, but it was a unique kind of life I led. It wasn't always easy, difficult. When your father ends up working for a coal mine, the uncertainty then, because of all the union activities that were going on, life was hard. And unless you had a resolve, unless you were had an imagination, a vision, and goals, I'm not so sure that I was ever going to make it out of that life that I seemed so, I guess, destined to live. But my life took a different direction because I had a skill. I didn't know I had it, but I had a skill that allowed me to get an education, allowed me to live a life that I never dreamed possible, meet people that I never dreamed possible, go to places in the world I never dreamed possible. Without that skill, I would have just probably been another typical West Virginia young man who had to find a way to support himself and probably a family.
I've heard you note that in today's society you find it unfortunate that sometimes people equate success to money, and that you feel that that's a rather short-sighted notion.
Well, short-sighted to say the least. You know, some people are very entrepreneurial. Others are not, and others work for people faithfully over the years. You know, I look at our police departments, I look at our teachers, I look at the people who mentor kids and care for the elderly, and somewhere along the way, they get lost. And I don't think that's fair, because in many cases, when you go back and you talk to someone who's had success in different ways in life, there's someone in their background that played a very special role in where they arrived to their ultimate goals. And sometimes those mentors are forgotten. And in my life, I've had many. Way too many to mention, but people who encouraged me when all I thought I was a skinny little kid that only hoped for a better life. And somewhere along the way, basketball chose me. I didn't choose that. It chose me. And I could do things that people thought were special, which allowed me to go to almost any school I wanted to go to if I'd wanted to. But West Virginia University was my place, and it will always be my place. And I'm forever thankful that I didn't go to another school.
Well, growing up in West Virginia as I did, I've heard so many stories from my mother in particular, remembering gathering around the radio and listening to West Virginia University games when you played there, and you always talk about your special relationship with this state, even though your opportunities took you far away from here for much time.
Well, it's true. West Virginia University has been the charity of my choice, and I've been lucky over the years to, you know, for some people to equate making a few dollars to having success. But I'll never forget where I came from. I'll never forget what the university did for me, even though at that time I didn't realize maybe they wanted me more than I wanted them. But it turned out to be an experience of a lifetime for a hopelessly fractured young man, the shyest person in the world, the most backward, the most awkward, to go into a social setting which I was ill prepared to be involved in. But I think I was probably fortunate by today's standards, because the only way you could get to have a professional basketball career, and that never entered my mind at that point in time, was to play 4 years, where kids come out today and they lose something very special about growing up on a campus, learning how to care for yourself, learning how to interact with people from all walks of life. And little did I know, as I got more confident, I started to say hello to a few people then, that my life would lead me to that direction. And that's why I will always be so benevolent to the state, and more importantly, their incredible loyalty to me.
Well, and your role here at the Business Summit, an opportunity to take part. The state of West Virginia, in its heritage, it's always been known as a hardworking state, and West Virginia business is working very hard to continue to try and improve the lot for West Virginians.
Well, as I say, these summits, I often wondered, why people go to these summits, and they have them everywhere. You know, some of our brightest, most successful people go to these summits, which preclude the average person or somebody who's just starting in business from going to. And I know some very, very successful people who go to those, and I know people who put them on. And when I hear them talk, I hear them talk about hundreds of millions of dollars or billions of dollars. That's not West Virginia at this point in time. My hope is that it will be to allow people here to live a different kind of life, but more importantly, to get those people involved in our younger kids and explaining to them how important education is. You might go to school and might think you've accomplished nothing. You've accomplished a lot if you graduate. And in today's world, it's just so difficult to go out there with the enormous amount of competition, and this country ever changing. I always hear people talk about manufacturing. I don't look at this country as a manufacturing company today. I look at it as a service country. So you need a different kind of skill set to go out and compete in this world. And believe me, we have some of the brightest people in the world that graduate from the finest schools that have difficulty getting a job because there's not enough opportunities out there. So, people always talk about the competition in professional sports. It's fierce. There's a limited amount of people who can do it. But in the business world, it's almost like the same competition that you would have as an athlete.
And that would be very analogous to the Renaissance here at the Greenbrier. Your good friend Jim Justice, who has invested so much to bring the Greenbrier back, and your involvement has been well noted during that period of time.
Well, he's he's a very unique man, and someone I'm proud to say is my friend. What he's done for this area and what he's done for this state, I don't think will ever truly be recognized. He might have saved this whole area up here. He is a giver. He is a giver. He cares about people. He employs people. There's over 1,000 more employees here now. He owns, I think, 54 companies, something of that nature. He's the most fun man to be around. He's working for him would probably drive you crazy because, you might buy a new car and he doesn't like it and go get a new one the next day. But he has done so much for this state, and we need more people like him in this state who have been successful, who want to take this state to the next level. And that's why I'm hopeful to come out of conferences like this, that people see opportunities, but they see an opportunity to give. And I think as you get older, as I have, I think the greatest feeling in the world is to give. Give you your time, you can give you your resources if you have enough, and I wish I had more. Because I always said that I don't think you can ever do enough for our future, and our future are our children.
I've always felt as a West Virginian, a lifelong one, that there is a special pride that we all feel being West Virginians. And as such, I couldn't help but think I had the good fortune to be at this past year's Final Four. And on that note, I can't imagine the pride that you must have felt with your son having the opportunity to participate in a Final Four as you had as a younger man.
Well, as I say, I think every father should look at their kids as equal and the same.
Mm-hmm.
Some of them are they're all different, and they come from the same genetic pool. But I think for any for any father, the ability to show your kids that you love them, which I'm not very good at, by the way, but show them that you care about how they're doing, and try to, in my way, it would be very direct. Show them where they're making their mistake. Talk to them about hard working. And I really safely can say that all my kids have been very hard working and have done nicely for themselves and have been productive citizens.
Mr. West, it has been my distinct pleasure to have the opportunity to speak with you here today. Thank you so much for joining us on West Liberty Television and all that you do to support our state.
Thank you, Reid. Nice to spend time with you.
Jerry West joining us here on West Liberty University Television.